Yeah, I'll send a tweet now. Blender's rubbish. Watch what happens, right? It'll go nuts. Honest to God. In fact, I will be in the same... I'll be with Trump if I put that in on Twitter right now. I'll be blocked. I'll be gone. I'll be done.
Welcome to the Graphters Podcast.
Brilliant. Right then, and we're in.
Evening, Gary.
Evening, John. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm not doing too badly. I've had a funny working day today. It's been a bit all over the place, a bit all odds and sods, but that's worked out quite well because it meant I got enough things done that I was able to clear the decks for this evening without worrying about what I got to do tomorrow. And then I remembered I'm not working tomorrow. It is a nice.
How do you do it?
What?
I'll tell you what,
day
it's
off?
very.
You don't work in education.
What's been happening in the last 2 weeks? Obviously, we had Adam on last week.
Yes.
Last 2 weeks, I suppose. We're 2 weeks away.
We're a bit behind. Yes.
We're a little bit behind.
Oh, we got a little behind.
Well, I'd rather have a little behind than what you've got.
Oh, you cheeky arse. Or is that what you've got? Aha!
Boom.
Sorry.
So,
I'll just keep drinking quietly.
we've got the beers going tonight, so we do apologise if it goes a little left field. I think we left it on Cycles X last week.
Cycles
Yeah.
X, yes. That's
X.
7 times faster.
Now, obviously, a lot of stuff's come out in the last 2 weeks. There's been quite a bit of buzzing about it. That was
All
looking
sorts.
pretty good.
Yeah. Everyone seems to be happy with it. And I'll be honest with you, as you are very well aware, I do not download and use software until it's past the sort of like beta stage. Because I love it, but I don't like to open it and fuck around with things and then start to realise that I just want to use that and it's going to fall over on me. However, saying that, I downloaded Cycles through the alpha, had a play, and almost pooed my pants with joy. But I've had to get rid of it because it's just too much like fun when there are other things that I need to be doing in Blender. Like getting things into Unreal.
Yeah, and I hear Adam was pretty useful with that as well, giving you a few pointers.
It was actually. It did help quite a bit. But again, I thank God for the community out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's staggering what. Oh, it's just amazing. And the more you spend time doing cinematics in Unreal, and that's mainly the main reason that I'm being championed to learn it. Not just me, actually. Some of the other guys that I work with, in fact, most of the guys I work with, are sticking their heads in the Unreal area. And I'm just constantly staggered by, A, the community, B, what they generate, and C, what you actually can accomplish with this stuff. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. I love it. Having far too much fun.
Far too much.
Yes.
I have, as a bonus this week as well, I have done my Grafters intro.
Oh.
So it's on the website.
Finally.
Probably 100 words longer than you wanted me to be, but I don't talk long. I don't talk for much, do I?
Mate, there's so little content on that site at the moment. I mean, there's like so little content on that site at the minute. It's fine.
To bring in our mystery guest for second
Yes.
week running.
Oh, it's good. It's good stuff, this guest, Malarkey.
So I'd like to, I suppose we don't really need to introduce him. He can introduce himself.
That's better.
But what I would say is...
You can say hello, though.
Yeah, you can say hello.
Hello.
Hello!
Hey! I've just been sitting at the back just listening. That's all. Just waiting.
Look, at times looking like he was wetting himself, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much.
That's a good sign. We'll edit all the funny bits out. We'll just leave in. Oh, sorry, I just swore. I've got to stop doing that.
I was wanting to bring this guest in because they are the current Grads in Games FE College winners.
Are they?
That's correct.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Yeah, thank you for that.
So, who are you? And
I'm Matt Wilson, and I'm from. Oh my God, it sounds like Blind Date. I'm Matt Wilson. I'm from Liverpool, and I'm
looking for love.
And I'm looking for love. No, I'm Matt Wilson, and I'm from the Wirral, just outside of Liverpool. and I work for a college in Warrington, Priestley College, and I run a level 3 games design course that I've been running for a little bit over 8 years, probably more closer to 9 years now. So I started it off at the college and built it up over that period of time into a point that it is now. And like John so nicely put it or said, we just recently won the Grads and Games college, FE college of the year for games, which is a really nice award, obviously, because it's focused around games and it's voted for by the students and judged by people in the industry. So it's a really nice award. So yeah, that's basically.
I think the thing is as well, Matt, you're also quite outspoken about education and FE not being taken as seriously as it should be.
Yeah,
I'm going to dig right in and rip the scab straight off this one. We might as well get straight on it.
Yeah, I'm the annoying one that kind of keeps on coming back at it and keeps on nagging about it. John, riles me up quite a bit, but I tend to be the one that carries on chomping at the ankles when all these people in university and studios want to talk about how good they are and don't want to talk about FE. I'm one of those ones that are kind of like, well, hey, we exist.
We do, and what I would say as well is, with the help of people like Matt, we've been able to, I think, redefine what we mean when we say talent pipeline, and not just thinking about the words talent pipeline starting at university. Yeah. It actually starts much further downstream.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, that is the key. I think FE colleges currently are the key to diversity for the games industry, and it's something that they need to pick up on.
Well,
quick.
That's the word, isn't it? It's the diversity, and I think when we, there's a massive buzzword around diversity. So universities love to jump on that, and industry love to jump on that, and they seem to have their loudest voices. So it becomes quite difficult for colleges to kind of get their voices heard. And here's the thing, there's a misconception about my view about it. It's like I'm not a uni hater. I don't hate university. I went to university and I absolutely loved it. And I send pretty much 98% of my students will go to university every year, and I do a job. I feel like I do a good job in helping them pick the right ones and this and the other. And so I'm not a university hater. I like that there's the higher education there. I just don't like the way that FE is kind of, it's just not recognised as much as it should be, and it's not utilised the way that it should be. And like John says, it's the grassroots, isn't it? I mean, it's where it starts. It's like, in September on day one, when our students come into the classroom, it's like you say to them, it's like, this is where it begins. This is where your journey begins. This is where it properly starts. If you want to get into games, if you want to get into visual effects, if you want to get into that digital creative industry, right? This is where it starts. It didn't start at school. It starts here now. This is where you're really going to learn about it. And from this journey, it goes.
Yeah, and to be honest, Gary, that's what Adam was saying in the last podcast, wasn't it? I mean, obviously,
part and parcel. I mean, he did say that that a university degree was important.
Yeah, but he said I scared the out of him.
He made a very good point. You did.
It's a piece of paper you need.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it's a piece of paper that you need. But you telling him at the start of his year that basically some of you are not going to get jobs, right? Yeah. Some of you are just not going to get jobs. If you want to do this, you've got to be dedicated. And there's a lot of places that won't even consider thinking about saying that to their students, and I think that's wrong. It's like, you've got to tell them this if you want to do it.
Allegedly, I did tell them.
Yeah, I tell them.
I don't remember it.
As an educator and somebody who's working on the last point of free education, right? So we're at the last point of free education. So our next job is to convince, because that's what we're doing. We're convincing them that they should go to university and spend £30,000+, right? Now, here's the thing, and I say this all the time, and it comes back in a lot of my arguments. It's like, okay, I've got no problem in people paying for their fees. Yes, they're expensive, right? That they are, but if it's an investment into your future career and it's something that you want to do, then go ahead and do it, right? But we're asked to push our kids down that route, and it's kind of like, well, for some of those, for a lot of them, they're either going to drop out in the first year, or they're going to drop out the second year, or even if they do get through to the end year, right, they're probably not going to be good enough, all right, or they're not going to get a job. And by that time, they've just spent £30,000+ a year, and they're thinking, why did I do that? Why have I spent all that money? What am I going to do now? Because I believed that this was right. I was right. Now, for me, I'm pretty straight with them when it comes to this time of year. Well, actually, September, when they start the whole UCAS process, and constantly through the year, it's a conversation. You need to have a straight and honest think about what you want to do. If you want to work in games, right, and you love it and you are committed to it, then go ahead and do it. But if you're not, it's going to be the most expensive piss up of your life. Right?
Can it be both, though, Matt?
It can, because...
Yes, just checking, because mine was.
Yeah, mine was. I repeated a year at uni, right? So
I did 4 years as well.
Right. I'm going to break it. I'm going to break into the conversation. I hate to break flow, but I would like to actually ask Matt. Well, tell us a bit more about your own education, because I think Gary and I have gone over ours in our previous podcasts. So
more than
how did Matt get to where he is?
Yes.
And any of Matt's students listening into the podcast, and we do hope you are, pin your ears back, because don't follow what Sir did.
Where does it start? Right, I sucked in school, hated school. I come out of school with 3 GCSEs. One of those was art. One of those was resistant materials, right?
The other was resisting arrest.
Resisting arrest. The school didn't want me to stay on and do A-levels, obviously, because I didn't have enough to do A-levels, and they didn't really want me to stay on and repeat either. So I always had it drilled into me: get a trade, always have a trade, get a trade. Right? I've come from that generation, and I don't think that's said much anymore. But my dad, my granddad, they were all like, get a trade, get a trade. You can always fall back on a trade. And I
was a plumber's apprentice.
Exactly right. So it was
I trained as a chef.
There you go. My brother-in-law, he's a chef. His trade, he can drop back on it. So I went to the local college and signed up for engineering, because I liked fixing things. I liked using my hands. And I did an engineering course, and I started right at the bottom, level 2, MVQ, that sort of thing. And then they were doing the apprenticeship stuff. And so that kind of, I wasn't happy with that, because I was getting paid more doing my part-time job than apprenticeships was getting paid, because at that time you could get paid like £1.50 an hour as an apprentice, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not brushing round after some knucklehead, right? So I'm not doing that. And I stayed on at college right up through to like an advanced diploma type course, basically. And then the local company was looking for an apprentice, and they were paying better. Like a lot better. So I think it was something like $4.50 an hour, and I was like, oh, I'm going for that one. I love that one. So I got the job, and I did my apprenticeship, and I worked there for about 4 years as a mechanical design engineer, and I loved it. It was really, really good. Oh, wow. And then what it was is I wanted to get into the design office. I wanted to do CAD. I loved the CAD stuff in college. It was like Autodesk. Right, it was boss.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I just loved it. I got a laptop as well. I bought a laptop, and it was brilliant. It was the first computer that we had in the house as well. So Mum went mad because she saw me plugging it into the the phone line, and she was just like went absolute nuts. Anyway, so So yeah, we you know, I did my apprenticeship and I wanted to go into the jury office, but that wasn't an option. So I decided I might go to university, and this is where it gets a bit daft. So I'm flicking through a prospectus. That's when, you know, you used to have the book prospectuses that you used to get. So I'm flicking through those.
We still do. I think we still do have them.
Did he still send them out? Yeah.
Yeah, we still send ours out.
I binned all mine out of my classroom, and they were like about 5 years old, the ones in my classroom. So just got rid of those. Wow. And so it flicked onto teaching design technology, right? A page flicked on. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, and I was like, oh, wouldn't that be funny? Oh, and then I'd get a job at my old school, and I'd just be like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go for it. And she's like, yeah. So one of my choices, right, was for this, like, teaching. And I got an interview. And I was like, what? I've got no GCSEs. How's that work? Labour government, they let anybody into uni at this point, right? So
what year was this, by the way? Sorry.
So this would have been 2003. Yeah,
right,
they were letting them all in, right? So
it was the second semester of Blair and Brown.
Yeah,
second
it was like
semester of love.
Everyone's going to uni. I'm like, yes. So I had to go and do like a maths and English exam, which obviously, you know, I failed at GCSE, so this was going to be interesting. But funny enough, I must have done really well, because in the time that I've been at college, I'd obviously written a bit more, and my maths were a lot better because I was doing like mechanical maths and all that kind of stuff. So that was all sort of really good. And I kind of blagged it in the interview. They kind of liked me, so they said, yeah, we'll take you on. And then what I realised was... also realised at the time, it wasn't just sort of design technology, it was primary education and secondary education with the specialism.
Oh, that's good.
So I was like, okay. So not only was I going to go and teach like design technology, I could go and teach primary school, which ended up being my first job.
Excellent.
So I was a primary school teacher for a year, and that was awful. I hated it and nearly give it up.
That's a shame, because you would have been the rarity, because most of them are women.
Exactly right. So I was in a school where I was the only male except for the head, right? And it was just like, and the deputy head at the time was like, if you do really well, because they were my last, they were the place that I worked last on a placement, and they liked me, and they said, look, we need somebody. Like, and
who's male?
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. And they said we'll take you on as soon as you're available to start work. You have to do an interview, so I had to do an interview, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. And
it's a bit like getting a games lecturer that can actually do 3D.
Yeah,
you just take them instantly.
Exactly. So I was just like, well, you fitted in all right for so far. You know what you're doing, so let's crack on with it. But I was like a swan, right? So I was like. I was like graceful, but underneath the water, my legs were going like this, because it was just all paperwork, and it was just like insane. It was just ridiculous.
I think you've got more of a look of the rubber duck off of Convoy.
Well, do you know, I just thought of myself as like a nice, elegant,
this is rubber duck.
Nice, elegant swan. But yeah, all right, duck will do.
Actually, Matt, I do prefer your analogy, because it is the one that I always use.
Yeah, thanks. And it's just like, you know, just John being a bit arsey about that. Anyway,
yeah, well, it's just John being John.
So then I left that job after about 12 months, and I got a supply job at the college. I know I'm really long. This is long-winded. It's probably really boring.
It's cracking. Really don't worry, we're going to cut out the middle of it.
Oh my god, it's just terrible, isn't it? You told you got
but
me
not the rubber duck.
Not the rubber duck. I got a supply job in the college, and I was just teaching everything. So I was teaching photography, I was teaching foundation art, I was teaching design tech, I was teaching graphics and this, that and the other. And I just felt like...
So it's all relatable, though. It's not just like random, it's teaching English, French, German, you know. It's all relatable.
It was all relatable stuff. It was kind of like, I was mainly teaching like product design, but I got dropped onto other courses. At our place, they kind of do that. They kind of have you teaching a lot of different things. And after about 2 years of working there, I was like, do you know what? We need something fresh. We need something new. And I went on a training course and blagged this training course. it was a 3ds Max training course, and when I got there, I was the only one there, so I got like 3 days with one guy just teaching me Max, and I was like,
that's ace,
brilliant. And he basically said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to basically put together a games course. Can you teach me as much as I need to know in the time that we've got, so that I can at least have an idea of stuff for games? And bearing in mind, my only experience of games was my Xbox at this point, right? So, like, the idea in the back of my mind was kind of like, this would be really cool to do if I ran a games course, because it'd be like, we could make some games and play games, and like, no one will know anything about it, and we'll just have a great time. and that was kind of like...
I mean, just breaking in here, Matt, one of the things that obviously Gary and I, the reason we ended up with the Graphters podcast is because all our lives, all we've done is just graft everything we've worked at.
Yeah, and also we use graphs. hence the spelling. I'm in the flipping graph editor most of my days, either in After Effects or Maya or Blender. Yeah. Or even, and now it's, I mean, in Resolve, I'm using ready graphs. Well, I might as well, but you're just like shifting, constantly animating curves. It's just, I mean, that is it. That is life, isn't it? It's
life's
curves.
A graph. Life's
a graph.
And then you marry one.
Yeah, grafty.
I married a lady. I didn't marry a graph. At least I hope so, because she did say, "I'm a lady." Could be wrong. There.
But what I was gonna say there, Gary, was, Matt came from a completely left field approach to wanting to make games.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the days of the old Codemasters and everything else, no one had a Scooby-Doo how to make a game. Matt was essentially just...
I've worked for a couple of those firms.
Matt was just late to the bloody party. That's all Matt was. He was just 20 years too late to the boom of the ZX Spectrum. That's all it was.
Honestly, I had zero idea what I was doing at the time, and
well, no, you did. You had an idea. You wanted to make some games.
Yeah, that was the idea.
And play some games.
I didn't really know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I could put together a load of units and a load of projects, and I got a few members of staff that was kind of into the idea and stuff like that, and we kind of cobbled together a course, and I kind of made it believable that they invested in it.
But the thing is, Matt, when I was selling the Alias Wavefront software back in the 90s, nobody knew how to use it. But they kind of knew what it could do, or they had an idea of what it could do, and they wanted to get there.
I think there were some people who knew it incredibly well. There were some people who knew it slightly okay, and there were other people who found they could use one part of it quite well and didn't know the rest. Yeah. Ironically, it's the latter who are the ones who basically made everything else work, because they just compartmentalize themselves during the business. And that's happened in both games and TV and film. So you just have specialism, which we never had at the beginning. It was just a matter of everybody was just thrown into the mix, and you do absolutely every single part of it. Whatever shot you're working on, you modelled it. If you get a model of somebody else, great. But you modelled it, you animated it, you shaded it, you lit it, and you rendered it. And sometimes you even got to the point where you are actually one of the compers as well. So I think it's a different ballgame.
I think for us, if the first 2 years of the course, the students defined what was going to happen. Like the first year was very.
That sounds clever.
Yeah,
that honestly sounds like perfection.
Yeah, but it had to find a balance, and it worked, because what we got in the first year, I looked at it and I was like, okay, this was kind of what I had in mind, but we're not making games. We'd started to play. We started out in Unity. We've only just moved over to Unreal, but we'd used Unity right up until this year. And I've got views about that. But
yeah, well, we're going to ask you.
We'll come back to that, don't you worry.
But it didn't really. There wasn't the confidence there in that first year, and so it was very sort of arty and very sort of illustration. And I was kind of like, I don't want to do an illustration. I've got art courses already in the department. We've got graphics courses, and I was determined. And the people on the course that I was working on the course at the time, they were coming from graphics, and I was kind of like, look, this is not a replica of your course. This is something that has to be different. And if it's because you're worried that you don't know what you're doing, then you need to learn. Because I'm going home and I'm doing the same every night, and I'm doing this, that, and another, and I don't want another graphics course, for instance, right? It's like, this has got to be a games course. So there was a bit of pulling and iffing and ahhing and a bit of grumbling, and then the next year we had our first couple of games out of it, and I was like, right, this is it. I know now that we can do it. It might not have been done right, but we had playables, and then every year after that, it was like, I want playables, and it was just refining everything in between.
And to be honest, when I took over the games course at Doncaster, the first thing I did was bring Unity in, and I said I want interactive levels where we're not just rendering out a pretend version of a games level. I want to be able to run around it. I want to be able to have collision data. I want to see an interactive operable in the scene where I can actually interact with it, and I want a sound object. Yeah. All these things that we wanted, I had no clue how to do because I was a games modeler, not a games programmer or anything else.
The guy that was on the last podcast, sorry, I forget his name, Adam, right? He said to his mate, didn't he? He said, his mate said to him, "Oh yeah, I like art, but if I want to get paid for it, I'm going to be a 3D modeler," right? And it was like, and I totally sort of like agreed with that. I was like, yeah, that's totally right. We've got loads of art courses in our college, right? The different stages of art and this, that, and the other. And it's like, and we've got graphics courses as well. And it's like, I didn't want that. I wanted, it was like, if you want to go and do that, that's fine. You can go do that at graphics, you can go do that in fine art or whatever. I really wanted it to be back to the point where where it was about making games, and it didn't matter if they were crap. It was about sort of like this interactive aspect of it, and it being just something completely different. And from that point, it kind of developed into it.
So I'm going to jump in there then. What's the best project you've ever worked on then, and why?
I mean, it could be something you've just worked on right the way back when you first started. It could be a personal thing. Yeah, exactly.
Personal thing, whatever.
Or it could be an educational thing. So it could be literally something that you've instigated, and it's been such a wonderful thing that you've done.
My game jams. I just love my game jams. Every year we do a game jam, right? So it's not a individual project, but it's the actual idea of it. The game jams that we do every year.
Can you explain to me exactly what that is?
So basically, my students will have a week, right, from Monday to Friday to make a game. I'll put them in a team. I usually pick the team as well, so they don't get to pick teams because I like to mess with the Reds a little bit. So I'll put them into different teams and this, that, and the other, and I'll give them a starting point. And then on the Monday they generate some ideas. They will pitch them out to the groups, and then literally it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday they'll do the game jam, and on a Friday morning they submit it, right? And the first time we did it, we had a guy come and help us. There's a guy called Joe Granger. He's a brilliant game designer. He's more of a programmer. He works at Apple now, but really good game designer. And he worked on Alto's Odyssey, right?
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, so he's amazing.
I love that game.
He's brilliant. Right, and his friend as well, Niall Taylor, used to work for Draw and Code, another brilliant designer, brilliant guy. These are all students. Oh, we'll run you your game jam. But the thing is, you've got to understand that the chances are they're not going to make anything, right? They're just going to come up with ideas. Don't expect anything. And my students just absolutely blew it out of the park, and they all made a game, right? And we've done that ever since. So every game jam we've made games. The game jams are brilliant. Yeah. It's just undirected. It's not linked to
it's
units.
unscripted mayhem that creates such positive outcomes.
That's amazing.
And it just shows their skill, man. Their skill comes out way more than just a project.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I think about where you work, and I think about what the colleges that I work at, and I think the college at Doncaster is too big to get away with doing something like that. But the other college, the smaller college, would have been ideal to do stuff like that. You know, a really close knit one group in 1 year, one group in another year. You bring them together. You have it as a bit of residential. And they've got the campus would suit it as well, because if you've ever been to the main campus where I work, it's obviously 5 stories. It's a big building. So what would you do, Matt? What would you do? What would be the one thing you would advise your younger self about? If you could go all the way back.
One thing, Matt. One thing.
One thing. Only one.
Do you know what? I'd have told myself to go and study games. Because I've loved every part of what I've done over the last nine years or so, and getting to learn about it, and I love the subject more. I'd have really loved to have been involved in the industry. I would have liked to have had that and do this at this as well, and what I'm doing now. It would have made this little bit easier. But then this time I could go off and work in industry.
I mean, I know what you mean about you'd like to have worked in industry, but I would point out you actually do work in industry because you're the beginning of the stream.
And I know there's that. We argue about that, and it is the thing. I think with it, John, is more about sort of my experience. It's like I don't want. It's not a violin point, right? But
it might be.
Like, it's been really hard. Like, it's been really hard, man. Like,
you just don't know.
You don't know. Like,
nobody understands.
I did it to myself. I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool to run a games thing, and not know anything about games to start off with was not a good idea. So, but I think just that experience as well, and because when you're advising the kids, and which I've been doing for so long, it's like I'm going off my gut and I'm going off stuff that I've read, and I think it would be more believable and add a bit more conviction to it if I had that experience. Now it's different. Now I've got students that come back and go, you need to listen to him. He's telling you. Well, when he's telling you're a knobhead and you shouldn't need to do more work and this, that, and the other, you need to listen to him because he's right. And I appreciate stuff like that. It's good. It's a good feeling.
Can I just say, Matt, on that score, that I know a lot of people who work in the industry that I work in. Obviously, not so much people in games these days. More people who work in telly and stuff, and every single one of them they always say, "Oh, the students are coming out, they're rubbish, they're really rubbish." And I'll say, "Well, why didn't you get in contact with the colleges and go in and do some teaching?" And they're like, "Oh, no, just go in, just knock on the door and say, can I help out or something?" Because I know for a fact the colleges would bite their damned hands off for people to just come in and do a lecture.
Do you know what, Matt?
Yeah.
I don't want to. I promise not to trigger Matt tonight. I really am trying hard.
I'm gritting teeth.
But
put him away.
It does look like Gary's got the trigger button tonight. But
sorry.
What I want. One of the things I was going to say, Matt, is obviously the position I find myself in at the college, which is quite a way now away from the coalface of what you're facing day in, day out.
It's rum down the mine, lad. It's rum down mine.
Can I have some more candles, sir?
We've run out of canaries, they're all dead.
So one of the things that's really been one of my sort of like the things that I've been trying to sort of like nail down is something you just mentioned there, which is how do we get the staff in our educational institutions meaningful work shadowing or work experience or something. How do we do it? Because I've tried to knock on the doors of some big companies. I've tried to knock on the doors of smaller companies. We've tried to bring in freelancers. We've tried all sorts of things, but nothing. While ever the staff member is in the building, or sat somewhere, and they're not actually in the actual job itself, it's not real. And we just need to figure out a way of doing that. And I mean, I'd love to be able to wave a magic wand and give grants for sabbaticals and all sorts of things. But
it's just a guy who I follow on Twitter, who I kind of know, works over in Wales at one of the colleges in Wales, and they won the award last year, right, off Grads and Games, and he's just won another award this year for being a tutor and what he does as well. And he's a really good guy. He's Rob, his name is. And
is that Rob G?
Yeah, Rob G. That's right. Yeah. He put a comment up the other day, and he was criticising the fact that, wouldn't it be great if FE tutors had the remission needed to learn?
Who criticised it?
He put it up on his own tweet.
Right, yeah.
And someone said something about there's a college down south that gives time and this, that, and the other. And I was like, don't even get me started, because the reality of it is, right, they can't afford to let staff out to go on and shadow somebody in industry, right? That's just not going to happen, right? They're not going to be able to do that. They'd like to. I mean, I don't know about any other college, right? But if it's anything like what I've experienced over so many years, it's like professional development wise is kind of isn't focused on subject. It's focused on a holistic college thing. So that tends to be the issue. But it's very difficult to get opportunities like that to happen. Getting them getting industry into FE, right, has improved. I think that it has improved, definitely. I'll tell you now, I think that COVID has had a positive impact on that, right?
Well, because they can come in without coming in.
Because they can come in without coming in, but you've got to take your wins there, because what that's done actually is it shined a light on FE a little bit. So those studios have finally come and interacted with them and gone, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
These are pretty good.
We can get them at 17, not 21.
So
less
now,
money. Come on.
So really, the knock-on effect of that should be that they should kind of want to come in and work a bit more with us. And I'd hope that would be the way that it turns. Because before that point, it was non-existent. We didn't exist.
Well, when we're speaking about having no money, this leads us on to the next question quite well. So open source software, Matt. Open source software, do you use any? And if you do, what do you use it for?
I saw a shake of the head then.
You're going to get onto Blender, aren't you?
Might be.
Did you know you Blender free? A lot. What's up with you all? You're just obsessed all the time. You put on my stream, it's like, oh, Blender's free.
How do you know when somebody uses Blender?
Right. Here's the question.
Hang on a minute. Matt, hang on, Matt. Gary, who does he sound like? Does he sound like I used to talk?
He sounds exactly like you used to talk. He used to, honestly, Matt, before you go on, Matt, he used to say, you're always banging on about this bloody Blender. I said, well, it's actually really, really good. And he said, and in the course of learning it, I'd find things in there that are just quicker to do than in other pieces of software. And fundamentally, there are faster ways. And it's like, well, why not? It's like, as Adam said, as you listened to earlier on, it's not about what software you use, it's about getting the job done.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And the thing is, right, I'm not dismissing Blender. I know Blender's good. I've spoken to enough people that have tried it and played around with it, and I've seen what they can do with it. I do. But do you know what the problem is with it at the minute?
See, I heard the butt that butt was so fast.
I haven't got time. I haven't got time.
Ain't got time to bleed.
I ain't got time to swap over onto another modelling software over again. Like, we moved over to Maya 2 years ago. I moved over to Blender. I could move over to Blender, but
I'm going to tell you this, Matt. I'm going to tell you this. I used Maya from its alpha stages.
Same here.
So we were in there when all the bugs were in before it. I was in it when it was in 5 different pieces. You had to close it down, move your model on, open up a new bit of software. It was a weird time to be in software dev back then, and I the one thing that Gary and I both agree on, and I'm going to tell you this now, and you're probably going to refute it, but then realise we're right. Eventually.
In about 50 years.
When you come to either install or open the products that you like to use, how many cups of coffee can you make?
Don't know. My laptop's pretty fast, mate.
No, I'm not. That's the thing.
I know. Mine takes like 2 days to load up. I get that.
It takes forever. I mean, I work in Maya, and I use Blender personally. Occasionally, there's a crossover, but it's like but mainly because if I just did a job recently, which was, and I can describe it, but I can't tell you what it was. But it was photographs that were basically brought to life, and the camera moved into them, and through them went some beautiful sort of like Tron-esque trails. And the client sent the artwork and said, we want it in that. And I just went, yeah, no problem. And I opened up F-Spy, which you may have heard of. Yep. No. No, he's not heard of it. No.
It's an education already.
It's unbelievable. It's one. Basically, you open up F-Spy, you drop in a picture, you just go right that corner, this corner, those angles, and so on, and it basically spits you out a camera with exactly the right focal length, and you can import it directly into Blender, which then puts the image in a background plane, and then so if you look at you'll put a grid into into the area, into the middle of Blender, and it's just bloody perfect. Wow. I mean, it literally is a perfect match. And then you just do UV projection onto the geometry, and you just pull it around and basically build to the artwork, and then you can get any other camera, change your aspect ratio of your render to whatever you want, and fly your camera down this. And it literally takes. Don't worry about it. It's my next tutorial.
I'll have a look at that. I've just got it up now.
Yeah, I was going to big up Ian Huber, but no, watch Gary's tutorial. I'm sure will be much more polished than Ian Huber.
I don't know. I recorded. I'm going to do it again tomorrow morning because I recorded it last night. I was so chuffed. It went so well, and then I realised OBS had freezed at 13 minutes. I was like, no!
Damn you!
Damn you, OBS!
Free software as well, by the way.
Free software wise. Right, I'll just say one thing about Blender because we could go on and on and on about it. Right, the only reason there's one more reason why we won't go into Blender. When the universities start using Blender more, right, then I'll do it, because one of the things that I try and do with my students is I want them to be using what they're going to use next year. I want them to be ahead. If universities start using Blender more, right? In which case, industry will start using Blender more. And I know that old industry standard. I hate that term just as much as anybody else, right? I think it's a load of but people like to say it. People like to say it so that people will spend money on software mainly.
Yeah.
But that's why they like to say it.
That works in John's favour.
Yeah. So it works in mine. Well, it doesn't actually, because I don't really won't spend money. But that's why at the minute. But most of the stuff that we use is free. All right. Now, except for ZBrush, and we use ZBrush.
So when you say free, what do you mean? It's free to you on an educational basis? It's
free for educational, and it's free for students. Barring one thing, there is one more other thing as well. 3D Coat. Now, we use 3D Coat because it's free for us, but unfortunately, it's not free for students. Substance Painter is free for students, but it's not free for us because it's owned by now Adobe, and they're a bunch of so they won't give you out for free, will they?
Don't cut that. Leave that
not going to give certainly not going to give you anything for free for now.
Well, this is it. I don't care because I'm even to the point now that like Photoshop, we don't use Photoshop anymore. We'll use the free Photo P.
John, can you please ask him question 7?
Well, I will. Let me just caveat, though, what he said about the universities, because I think it's really important. I had I would say a very robust discussion with our new one of the new VFX university lecturers, who is in industry. He's very much still in industry. He works part-time and he's a fantastic guy. And he was almost in my face on Teams, as he could be in your face, arguing the point that students should be allowed to choose whatever software they want to use. So we should have every bit of software available.
Yeah, that's why most studios are employing people from abroad at the minute, because they're coming out of universities without the necessary skills to get a job. I mean, it's all right saying that, but it's not right.
But what I'm going to say is I'm going to ask question 7 now, which is, what's more important then, skills or software?
I thought you'd like that one, John. I crept that one in today. I just thought, you know what? Actually, what is the most important question on this whole bloody thing?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right. You can use any piece of software. If you understand the fundamentals of it, you can swap in and out of any software. Right? If you understand it and you know your craft, if you are good enough, if you've committed your time and you have studied hard enough and you know the fundamentals of how a 3D software works, how a game engine works, how a texturing software works, right? Then you can use any software whatsoever. But that's not the point. That isn't the point in the whole argument of it. It's like there's a set out like pathway of getting to a point. Now, if you go and decide that you're going to use everything other than what's asked for, then you're going to find it more difficult later on. You just are. Whereas if you're using the software that is in line with the pathway to get into the job and into the standard, then it's going to be easier for you. If you decide that, do you know what, I'm not using any of those software, I'm going to go use like Blender, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use that, and this, that, and the other. It doesn't necessarily do you masses of favours, right? Can
I say something, Matt? Just to interrupt. Sorry to be interrupty.
No.
I'm all interrupted tonight, and I'm just going to get there before John does. But I'm actually going to talk about one of John's ex-students, who basically was, when he went off to university, tried to persuade the university to let him skip the first year.
Oh.
Because he'd spent like the last 2 years learning Maya and ZBrush. Do you remember this, John?
Yep.
Yeah. And then they said that, no, you have to do the first year. And he said, but I've already done the first year over the last 2 years. So there's what's wrong with, say, an FE college.
We made him that good.
Yeah. So what's wrong with an FE college, for example, like your own or someone else saying, right, okay, yeah, I know that games predominantly use 3ds Max, but that's moved across now to Maya a lot more. Obviously, because it's games, so you've got a choice of Unreal or Unity, and obviously you've gone from Unity to Unreal. But there is no reason at all, because the Blender Unreal pipeline is rock solid, and the Substance Blender pipeline is rock solid. In fact, to such a degree that a lot of games firms are starting to move across to Blender. I mean, Ubisoft is a prime example of the reasons why Blender is a good thing to teach at FE. And I'll leave that with you.
Yeah. But that's just, you don't have to cogitate and grind that one down.
I know.
No.
But the whole point of the Graphter's podcast, Matt, is, and why we have a beer when we're doing it,
we're
is
questioning
just as if we sometimes get told how it is.
Well, then it comes back around here. This is another aspect of maybe what we talked about earlier on. It's like it's involvement. It's like FE have got no idea up until, let's just say, the last couple of years. A lot of FE have had very little involvement with the industry whatsoever. It's hearsay what we're doing and how we work it. In fact, aspects of what we teach actually come from what we see being taught in university, and the some of the comments and some of the feedback given from industry is that there's a lot of places in university, not all university, but some places in universities are not teaching the right content anyway. So again, it's about trickling down, that information trickling down and doing it. If Blender becomes mainstream and starts being used a lot more in industry, then it should be being used a lot more in university and FE. I would quite happily move over to it, but as it for me, on my course, I know that, like, one, I've either got to start a whole new training scheme of getting staff to the standard that they need to be to teach it, right, to a certain point, which is basically me and one under. And then also, it's making sure that the students have those skills and they're ready for when they go into university. And if their courses are mainly using Maya, then I'm not doing them a justice. I need to keep them...
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, that's the way I look at it right now.
One of the things I would say, Matt, is, you know, by some of the statistics that are coming out of the downloads, and, you know, now the analytics on websites are allowing for, you know, unique IP addresses to be tracked on numbers of downloads, number of installs, and everything else. They are reckoning there's between 1 and 3 million Blender users out there. At some point,
everyone on Twitter uses Blender. Right?
Everyone on Instagram also uses Blender.
Yeah, I'll send a tweet now. Blender's rubbish. Watch what happens. Right? It'll go nuts. Honest to God. In fact, I will be in the same... I'll be with Trump if I put that in on Twitter right now. I'll be blocked. I'll be gone. I'll be done. That's it, done.
That's not true. There are a lot of people who try and destroy Maya on a daily basis.
You do.
I mean,
Maya destroys itself on a daily basis.
Yes, exactly. They are Maya users. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you know, the difference, I think, the only difference, literally, between Blender and Maya, and I'm not talking on a technical level, I'm talking more on a community level, is that with Maya, you've got a lot of people who've been trained within each of their lives how to use it. And then you've got a lot of people who basically with Blender they're always asking questions. If you try and contact Maya and get an answer, if you try and contact Autodesk, you've got no chance. Yes, in fact,
their customer services is almost as bad as Unity's. It's terrible. I'll
tell you what. This is now. I'm not going to mention any names here, because I think he listens to this. But there is someone that I know who actually had a serious problem with something to do with After Effects, and they were trying to get this thing to work, and it would not work. And they spoke to me and spoke to a few other people, and could not work out what it was. So they tried to get in contact with Adobe. Got nowhere. Yeah. Went onto the website, went through all the questions on the website again, got nowhere. Put questions on their support. Contacted support, got nowhere. They then lambasted them on Twitter in 144 characters, including hashtagging Adobe in there. And that was when they finally got a response from them saying,
"That's how we do it.
Do you need some help with something? Yeah. What's wrong?" Yeah, they don't give a. They don't. A lot of these large companies actually, and I know I'm basically lining myself up for being shot. But a lot of these large companies, their customer support is very, very lacking.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That's the nicest way I can put it without getting shot.
It is bad. Our experience of customer support with certain pieces of software has been pretty awful.
That's a much better way of putting it. Yes.
I think it does get worse when you're actually in education. It gets even worse because we have to go to our own technical support department, who then have to go on to their technical support department. It's like Chinese whispers.
I tell you, actually, I will say one thing. I did some teaching over at Salford Uni, because it's not far from where I am, obviously. I did some work at Salford Uni and really enjoyed it. And I was there doing some part-time stuff for several years, actually, about 3 or 4 years. And when they went into the new campus in Media City, of course, I work in Media City, so it was dead easy for me to say, I'm taking my lunch now when I was freelancing, and I'd go and do a lecture for 45 minutes and come back. And there was the guy there, and it was amazing. I can't remember his name. I don't think he's there anymore. I think he actually works in the industry now. But at the time, he was the most amazing technical support. He understood every piece of software. So when I said, someone's asked me a question about 3ds Max, he'd go, all right, what's the question? And he'd tell me. And I go, that's great. Can you just go over there and tell him, please? No, it was, it's just, honestly, it was like, there were points when I said, you should be up here, mate. Oh, no.
I mean, I would say this. When I used to be technical support, first line support for Maya, when we were still working for Silicon Graphics, that we were drilled so hard on all the things that broke, so that we could be driving down the M1 and a client would ring up, a customer would ring up, and they'd be telling us, and we would be visualising it on our own windscreen in the slow lane, and actually telling them, go up to the top right-hand corner, third column across, click, go down, and then, and that's the way it was back then.
Have you turned it on and off again?
But now, software has become so confusing at times, because they've and we this is a bugbear of Gary's and I's. They don't clean the code out on versions of software, so it's just building on bad for want of a better word.
Which is part of the reasons why the architecture is so slow when you start it up.
There's a game engine that's we've used for quite a while. It become to the point where it become unusable for us, right? And I don't think it's all to do with them. I don't actually lay 100% of the blame on them. I actually lay about 90% of the blame on them. But in education, the IT and the network and how everything works is very, very different to, obviously, a studio or a company or anything like that. We've got so many things that we have to tick box in order for us to use certain pieces of software, and it causes a lot of problems. And we had a great deal of issues with that, and to the point where every year, every update, it was just unusable to the point. And customer service wise, it just wasn't there. And the only way we could ever get a response, it's like we'd email customer service, right? And bear in mind, we've had it when you used to have to pay for it. Right, and customer service even back then was terrible. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we've logged your problem. We'll be back in two or 3 days." I can put it on Twitter and they're back in about an hour at the latest, and they're giving me a code and they have to sort it out. So yeah, it is like that. And
I mean, on the other hand, I'd say that certainly when I worked in the industry, that we prided ourselves on the response times that we had. So one of the things that when we did the VFX Academy, we paid for gold standard support, first line support, and
one little money crew.
Can you turn it on and off again?
No. So this gold, and I'm not going to mention the company. You can do your own work if you want, but I can send an email to their first line response team, and I will get an automated number to come back, and within 5 minutes I've then got a solution coming up with several things that they're going to do. But because it's gold standard that we've got, they can remote into our entire system and they fix it for us. We don't even have to do anything.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, John, right? We don't have that kind of money.
No, we were very lucky in the way that we got the grant.
Yeah, I get that, but as a whole across the board thing,
yeah. But what I'm saying is, you do your licensing by connecting to the internet.
Yeah.
So why can't they figure out the problem of that piece of software when it doesn't want to talk to the internet anymore or whatever it is that's happening?
Are you sure you're not talking to a bunch of scammers in Mumbai who've just basically broken into your machine and stolen all your money?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it works. Is it, as things become free, there's less of a concern to sort the problems out with your big customers, isn't it? Especially if you're education.
I mean, one of the things with Blender, I think, is the community that actually drives Blender. Because we're talking about is. Blender. That's the one thing that goes for it.
I mean, obviously, I'm a bit of a saddo when it comes to Blender. Yes, I'm a Blender geek. That sounds better. Yes, I'm a Blender geek, and I was watching not the most recent virtual BlenderCon, but the interviews for the one before that, and the stuff when Ian Hubert was talking about all his photoreal stuff, and that was absolutely superb. Actually, really, really good. But Ton Roosendahl, who's the guy who basically created the base software that became Blender, and he runs the whole organisation, the charitable organisation that funds it and keeps it going. Yeah, and he said he was walking around. I think it was one of the bigger events. It wasn't FMX. It was
SIGGRAPH?
I think it was either SIGGRAPH or E3. It was one of the two.
E3.
And there was a bunch of, and obviously this will be checked online. Someone else can check this online to be sure. But the fact was that he was walking around and was having a great time, really enjoying himself. Didn't think he was being that obvious to people. And then he found himself constantly being attacked by students going, "Oh my God, Ton, you're amazing. All of us are using your software." And they're like, "What? Your colleges are teaching you their software?" And he goes, "No, but we're just using it anyway."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I think the difference with the blenders. At the end of the day, I will not say anything horrible about Maya beyond the stuff that I always say horrible about Maya.
I haven't got anything horrible to say about either one of them. They all do a job. Whether it's like whatever you're into, and I've got students that like blended, that use Blender, but I have to say to them, it's like, look, for now, this is what we're using, and this is what I want to see you using. This is what I want to see you using, because you can, if you want to learn two at the same time, then go be it. But I would much prefer you to master and understand one and then play with the other. You know, this is how we're going to prep. What's it? But like, if they came to me and I can use
skills or software.
Oh, that was that question that you asked.
You haven't answered it yet.
I'm just going to point out that we've probably cut out about 2.5 hours of mad ramblings over this first question because he doesn't want to answer the question.
I know. What's more important, skills or software?
I thought I made a really good point at the beginning of this question, where it's less about sort of. I say skills. Yeah, I'll go skills. I think that
right. That's it. Edit point there, please. I say skills. No, well. There's a lot of actually, but saying that there was a lot of stuff that fundamentally was exactly correct in there, said by you and me, not by Matt. But
so. You see, here's the thing. I don't like any of them. I like ZBrush.
You see, I fundamentally hate ZBrush.
I love it.
I love ZBrush. I
hate it.
But you know I love ZBrush.
I know, but I had to build. I was working on what was it, Young Dracula, and I'd just been brought in as a freelancer to work on the TV show, and I'd only looked at ZBrush very, very briefly, and I had to basically build a bat. Now I built the bat in as a low res inside of Maya. Then I brought in the OBJ into ZBrush. Or ZBrush, whatever you bloody well call it.
I call it ZBrush, but people really get shown.
Well, it's just pathetic Americans. Sorry.
Yeah. Soft image,
soft
image.
It's soft image. It's French, right?
Soft image.
Sorry, it was French. So and I ended up having to texture and do all the displacements and all the finishing work on this bat in ZBrush, and it took me an absolute age, and then
to answer the question,
then they put in a license of Mudbox, and I basically replicated the whole thing in about an hour.
It's not as good. It's not as good. It's not as good.
No, it's not as good. It's not as good for certain things, but it's a proper 3D environment, which ZBrush is not, and that's what I found. No. I'm just saying. Let's not rabbit all this. It's already 22 minutes past 9.
We may have to bring Matt back for the ZBrush debate.
Okay.
But that will be fine. I mean, we can probably get a quorum going. I'm going to go into the quickfire round.
Right.
Go ahead.
We love the quickfire round. Adam bricked himself last time. But,
he did. And stop rubbing your face. They're fundamentally the same and not the same questions.
So, favourite film of all time, Matt?
Roadhouse.
Oh, really?
It's ace, isn't it?
Great film.
It's brilliant. I haven't seen that for years. Oh, that kick.
Go watch it. Download
that
it
kick.
Now. So good.
Yeah.
Favourite VFX shot of all time? I know which one you're going to ask.
No, you don't. I don't know, actually. I don't know. Oh, my God, I don't know.
No, stop it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No. Anything in the latest Blade Runner, because that film was just absolutely beautiful. It was just beautiful, stunningly beautiful.
There must have been one shot.
There
must have been one shot in that Blade Runner that really blew you away. Come on, let's narrow it down.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it the hands, the two pairs of hands on the back of the guy's head when it was the woman, when there was two women in the room with him?
No, I think it was more the when he flies into the city, you know, and sees Harrison Ford for the first time when he flies into there. That shot was just beautiful.
That 3D Harrison Ford is incredible.
Yeah, because he's obviously
dead. Has been for 10 days, years even.
But that film on its own is just an absolute beautiful piece of art to me.
It's a shame that it's such a terrible movie because it is beautiful.
Yeah. But there you go.
Great stuff. Right. Thank you. Favourite YouTube channel?
Game Maker's Toolkit. I really like it.
Nice.
It's informative. It's good. I use it all the time.
Excellent.
Work
with or without music on?
With on. Yeah, definitely. Just to go back. Game Maker's Toolkit and Wimpy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wimpy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Totally. He's just done his new video as well. Came out today.
What's Wimpy?
The new Whimper Stag looks a beast.
Yeah.
See, Gary, I have told you about Wimpy.
Have you?
He does car restorations, and he does.
Just like him.
He's the guy. His name's Alex Jarrett. If anybody wants to look him up on YouTube, well worth it, because this is a guy who's probably living his life in front of the camera at the moment, out in France, and he's just one of the most amazing human beings I've ever had the privilege of sort of virtually knowing. And Alex, we will meet up, I promise you.
How'd you spell it?
Wimpy is in the burger.
What? So
it's Wimpy Bro.
Wimpy Brothers, Bros. Yeah, Wimpy Bro.
Yeah, Wimpy Bros.
It just resonates. It's really good. So like that's me non-gaming one. I watch that quite a lot.
Okay.
But yeah.
Just on the music, what music genre?
Oh, I've got such a mixed bag, man. I've got all kinds. I'll listen from anything from country right up to like punk to.
Okay, then
metal.
Let's narrow it down. What was the last album you listened to?
I was listening to Metallica today.
Oof, nice. Yeah,
Blimey.
we'll go with that.
That's while I was marking Metallica.
Marking to Metallica, bloody hell!
That will be a spiky profile on that mark sheet.
Useless.
Yeah. What Metallica have you been listening to?
The Metallica that was done by a rave band back in the 90s. It was a remix.
So Matt, Unity or Unreal?
Unreal all day long. All day long. It is.
Substance or...
Go on.
This is quickfire. Substance or Quixel Mixer?
Ooh. Oh.
How to split a nerve.
Oh. Right. That you can't. Oh. Do you know what? I want Mixer to just be... I just want it to kill Substance.
Have you seen the latest version?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah.
It's absolute right. You can't just have one word answer on this. I'm sorry, John.
Crack on. You can't carry on.
We can. It's quickfire.
Quickfire questions, but we can extend the answers if we feel they're worthwhile. But not too long, Matt, please.
Yeah.
So
Adobe Premiere or Resolve?
Premiere. I've not used Resolve.
Can you read the question properly?
I've not.
Well, it says Adobe or Resolve.
Yes.
But that makes no sense.
I haven't used Resolve. I know how to use Premiere. But if it was other software other than Adobe, I'd choose the other software.
This is the thing. You see, you've got, apart from the fact that it's not a painting package, if you're opening it up, you've got a effects package. You've got Fusion built in. You've got Premiere built in, basically, which is the main NLE editor. You've got Fairlight, which is the equivalent of Audition. And then you've got all the exporting capacity of Media Encoder, but better. Plus, it also works in ACES correctly, which Premiere does not, and nor does After Effects.
I'm likely to use it. I'm likely to go over and have a look at it and use it. Somebody else did mention it to me.
And also,
recently.
it's £250 for all of it.
Maya or Blender?
Cinema 4D.
Lovely. Awesome.
Mystery answer number 3.
Maya, because I've not used Blender really that much, to be fair.
PC or Mac?
PC.
Good man.
Best working lunch?
Ooh, best working lunch? A pint of Guinness.
And another pint.
What do you need? It's a pint of Guinness. It has everything in it. It's a liquid lunch.
It is actually, yeah.
That was Matt, myself, and Adrian Smith at the first Games Ed conference, wasn't it? Our working lunch.
Working lunch, pint of Guinness.
Where are you? I'm outside the pub, Matt. Where are you?
Inside the
I'm
pub.
inside the pub. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. Yeah, coffee.
Custard creams or bourbons?
Bourbon. All the way. Yeah, definitely. Bourbon.
Thank you for playing the quickfire round, Matt. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
Yes. No, seriously,
Even
though,
though
Matt,
one
that was
I-
really
yeah.
good. That was. Look, it's really good to have another educational viewpoint than just John's. To be honest with you, so that was.
I know he
ace.
gets bored of my viewpoint.
No.
Well,
No. Not bored.
To be honest, he does fuel me a little bit. To be fair.
What I'm going to say now, Matt doesn't realise he's got a reflective surface behind him on the video.
I know he
We're
hasn't, has he? But we
we're
can see
watching
what
the
he's
YouTube
watching.
videos that he's watching whilst doing the interview.
Actually, what it is it's the resolve
Wimpy.
clip. It's the resolve.
Oh, is it?
clip.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've just googled Resolve, and he brought up the DaVinci Resolve 17, and it's just showing me.
I'm just going to
it's
point
showing
out to Matt's students that is the correct answer when challenged about your YouTube.
Obviously, I also
Interestingly, though.
googled F-Spy as well. So I put them
Yeah.
up on my tab. So stuff that you were actually saying, I was putting up there. I won't.
Can I just say, Matt, just for future reference, you might notice that neither of us have mirrors behind us. To be honest with you, I've been using Affinity. I use a piece of free
Affinity.
software called I use a piece of free software
Yeah.
called Critter for most of my artwork.
Yeah,
and I use
Critter.
it, and I love Critter. It's fantastic. Making the brushes in it is a little bit more difficult than they are making them in Photoshop, but fundamentally they're better.
What about GIMP? Yeah.
Nah.
You see, I offer different options for the students. Critter's one of them. GIMP, because that's obviously just funny, right?
It's dumb. It's dumb.
It's
The
just
General
dumb.
Image Manipulation Program, aka GIMP.
GIMP.
Guess which they came up with first?
And have you used Photopea?
No.
Photopea is Photoshop, but in a browser.
So not
Google
by
it.
them.
Not by them. Google it. It looks exactly like Photoshop. So this was one of my saving grace over the COVID, because it took Adobe a while before they reached into their deep dark souls to give stuff away for free. Photopea.
Oh my god!
Have you seen it?
I've got
it open now.
Yeah. So I tell my students, we're not using Photoshop. We're using Photopea. If you want to use Photoshop, use Photopea. It's exactly the same. There's a couple of things that you need to change, but that's what we do. And
It's practically the same.
We talked a little bit about sort of free software, and my thing was with it is we try to go as much as we can to make it as free as possible. And I know Blender's in there, and I do get that, so it's not a dismissal to that. And the only thing that isn't free that we use is ZBrush, and I think that they've got a ZBrush Core Mini out, which is free if you want to use it and stuff, but it's not the same. Eventually, that will become free.
What was that thing
I believe that.
the guy they bought Pixelogic actually bought the guy and his software.
They did, yeah. Sculptress.
Yes, what Sculptress? That's it. Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. The guy who taught me ZBrush is a ZBrush evangelist, and he's been using ZBrush since day one, since the early development stages, and all of that has a story attached to it, which he's told me before now why that came about and everything, and this because of bringing up ZBrush, and I know we're to the end now and whatnot, but one of the projects that you said that you were that I was really happy with that we did, not just the game jams, but we used to run. We haven't done it this year or last year because of COVID, but we run our life drawing through ZBrush.
Oh hell, really?
Yeah, and that is like, I believe, right, that I'm the first to do that.
I think you probably are.
And
the fact that you're doing life drawing, first of all, can I just do this?
Yeah.
Because it's one of the most important things for anyone who does anything with characters.
Well, to be honest,
needs to know how to draw. Yeah.
But they get something out of it as well. I do tell my students I'm extremely selfish. A lot of what we do is for my own amusement. It just benefits you a lot more.
It's true.
So yeah, we have a live model that comes in, and we have her for a few weeks, and she'll come in once a week, and we do. I teach them ZBrush through live drawing, so they get to look at pose and posture and stuff like that, and perspective. I mean, one of the things that I might not have come across in the discussion is, like, I've now, over that period of time, I've built up a massive network and a huge contact list now, and I have met a great deal of people in the industry, and a lot of those people have helped me a massive amount to get my course to where it is. You know, we talk about the fact that, you know, the links between industry and FE, but that was recognised very early on, and I worked very hard to change that. But you know, my network is a lot bigger now, and people in the industry have been a lot more helpful and helped me a great deal, and I'm forever grateful for that, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to do half of what I've done, as well as people in other areas.
One of the things, and hopefully there are going to be some lecturers out there, because we're going to share this in the Gamers Network for Grads in Games.
Oh, cool! Excellent.
The academic network.
Yes, I knew that.
Any of you guys that are out there who are looking to enhance your course, and you know, I've known Matt now for probably 4 years, Matt.
Yeah, about 4 years. Yeah.
I've tried to poach him 4 times to come to work for me, because he is that good, and it's not because he's good at using ZBrush or because he can do things that I can't do. It's because he's very similar to me in the sense that he's not shy going forward. He gets out there, he presses the flesh, he makes the connections, he does what we are supposed to be teaching the young people to do. He becomes the social butterfly, and that's the great thing about what he's done. And his course, and the reason that he was, you know, I think the FE College of the Year for gaming, is because he's done it. He's done it all as it should be done. He's grafted it out. And if you want to be a successful games course, or a VFX course, or an animation course, start doing that yourselves.
Start grafting. Thanks,
John. That's kind. That's really kind of you. I mean, you know, it is hard and it is tough, but it's people and networks that help, and we're out there to help each other. So, you know, I'm always willing to come out and help each other. It's like, you know, you invited me up to Doncaster, and we had a chat up there, and you've helped me out a number of times and advised me. So it's all about that. That's how we succeed. That's how we make things better. It's a community, and games has got a massive community. Visual effects has got a massive community. Digital arts, digital creative has got a massive community. And by using
DCC,
using it that's how you get on. And you've got to do that.
One of the things that when I first started teaching, one of the things I once said, because some of the students said, "Come on, show us, sir, what have you made and everything else." And obviously, I've got published titles. It's nice to have that sort of stuff under your belt. But one of the things I said, it's not about what I can do. It's about you standing on my shoulders and reaching further than I ever could get. And that's what, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants is a saying that I love, absolutely love, because we do, as lecturers, we have the ability to stand on some seriously big shoulders when the industry comes in and helps us. But we're the ones that will keep those students balanced all the way to the end. It's all right sticking them up there and letting them wobble about, but we're the ones that are going to really make a difference in their lives by encouraging them, by building resilience, and by just guiding them to that point where they want to get to. I've gone a bit emotional and soppy now.
I think you have slightly. I thought we were trying to wind it up.
I thought we were. You know, I was going to crack another beer now.
I'm about to cry. I think it's time to stop.
I'm a big virtual hug.
I'm stressed, so I can't cope anymore. Thank you very much for listening.
Do you know what? My target.
If you'd like to join the crew, please drop us a line at grafterspodcast.com.
My aim this evening was to basically make this a really difficult job for John to edit, stitch together.
I think this is John's first, and he's going to have a joy, because I've been recording for 1 hour and 33 minutes.
Yeah, I am.
So this is going to be a fun one for you, John. Best of luck, and I expect to be probably doing it afterwards. No, I joke. No, I won't.
Well, my degree's due in on Tuesday, so I'm just giving you a heads up, guys.
But no, thank you for having me.
Right. And on that note, we shall say and do the depart.
Yes, we shall.
Goodbye, Gary.
Good night, John. Good night, Matt.
Good night, John.
Good night from you
Gary.
two.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Matt.
Good night. Good night, John. Good night, Gary.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming back and listening to us and subscribing. Goodbye. This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Any opinions stated during the course of this podcast belong purely to myself and to John and are based at the time that we record this. The theme music is My Everything by DJ Quads. If you like that, and I'm sure you probably did, there is a lot more of his great stuff which you can find at soundcloud.com/DJ Quads, or his music is also promoted by www.free-stock-music.com.